Football Fantasy.
Hello and welcome to Keepers. It's the fantasy playoffs, and that means you're watching the right video because this is the show where I stand here for 5 minutes and talk into a camera about what to do with the grown men on your pretend football team. I've made good career choices. Start Andrew Luck. Even though last week's game was out of hand by the time the Colts scored, Luck looked more comfortable throwing his 4 touchdowns to Levon Brazil and Derek Rogers than anyone else since Reggie Wayne got hurt. This week, Luck gets the woeful Texans, who he burned for 270 and 3 scores in Week 9. Expecting to be a strong play at home in Week 15. Sit the Patriots defense. The Pats just allowed 57 points and nearly 900 yards in their past 2 games to Cleveland and Houston. Now they travel to Miami to play a Dolphins squad that just hung 34 on Pittsburgh in the snow. Start Steven Jackson. He's been downright useful the last 3 weeks, averaging 73 yards and a touchdown per game. This week he plays at home against the Redskins, who give up the 3rd most fantasy points per game to running backs. And with Washington mailing in the rest of their season, hi Kirk Cousins, it should be a good day for Atlanta's offense. Sit Frank Gore if you have depth at running back. Tampa Bay has allowed only 2 rushing touchdowns to running backs all year, and the only backs to crack 100 yards against the Bucs are LaShawn McCoy and Marshawn Lynch, 2 stud backs who weren't 30 years old, traveling 3,000 miles to play a game, kicking off 3 hours earlier than they're used to. Start Alex Smith. In his last 4 games, he's thrown 9 touchdowns to 2 picks, good for a 94.4 rating and more than 20 fantasy points per game. I think he'll keep it going versus a struggling Raiders pass D that just made Geno Smith look like an NFL quarterback. Sit Chris Ivory. This is a tough one because Ivory's been the only semi-reliable fantasy play on the Jets offense, but his matchup is just terrible this week. Not only do the Panthers allow the fewest yards and touchdowns on the ground, they're even stingier in Charlotte. No back has rushed for over 63 yards on them at home, and they've only allowed 304 yards with no scores to their opponent's top backs in their last 6 home games. A week ago, I was bragging about how I got almost all my calls right the week before. This week, I get to apologize for having what may have been the worst episode of the year. If you listened to me and sat Jordan Cameron in favor of Jared Cook, yeah, sorry about that. Feel free to yell at me on Twitter. I will say this about last week's episode, though. My hair looked fantastic. Come on, you can't stay mad at this. There's a good chance of snow in Cleveland this weekend. Nothing quite like the 8 inches in Philly last week, but hopefully enough to make a Browns game more appealing. I don't think it will significantly impact the Bears and Browns on your fantasy team, but if conditions get sloppy, I'd look to start Chris Ogbonnaya as a flex in PPR leagues. Willis McGahee is coming off a concussion, and the Bears have allowed a 100-yard rusher in 6 straight games. Hire Michael Crabtree and fire Jarrett Boykin. Crabtree's got 108 yards in his first 2 games back after his Achilles surgery, but he should only get better as he knocks the rust off and faces Tampa and Atlanta. As for Boykin, he's disappeared with Matt Flynn under center. In Flynn's 2 starts, Boykin has caught just 2 of his 6 targets for 23 yards. I miss you so much, Aaron Rodgers. Hire Jason Campbell and fire Eli Manning. With Josh Gordon setting the world on fire and Jordan Cameron bouncing back into form, Campbell put up huge numbers against the Patriots, and he's available in almost every league. As for Manning, he leads the league with 20 interceptions and doesn't even atone for that with strong yardage numbers or touchdowns. He's failed to top 280 yards in his last 8 outings and has just 12 touchdowns in the last 12 games. Hire Justin Hunter and fire Denarius Moore. Hunter was targeted just 19 times in the season's first 11 weeks, but he's equaled that in Tennessee's last 3 games, producing 2 games with over 100 yards and a touchdown in that stretch. Meanwhile, Moore has missed Oakland's last 3 games, and even if he can come back from a shoulder injury, Rod Streeter has become Matt McGloin's primary target. Who are these people? That is all for Week 15 of Keepers, the season's penultimate episode. Your outdoor activity of the week is...
Your castle won't clean itself. Learn a quick spell to take care of the mess.
And if we don't know magic?
On second thought, it may be easier to move.
Not even an outdoor activity. Set your lineups and good luck in the playoffs.